You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kiersten.
Are you listening, Caps fans? It's the big show. I thought you might know. If you don't know, you better ask somebody. Yeah.
Say that karma is a bitch.
Because the Caps just stole one in the shootout, didn't they? You know it.
So last week I had to travel to San Jose on business. I called about 3 hotels. They didn't.
This is my friend that stayed in a haunted hotel. If she really wanted to feel fear, she would have been Jimmy Howard tonight. Yeah. Caps beating the Detroit Red Wings. It came down to a shootout, and you would have thought Datsuk might have put one in. You would have thought that OV might have put one in, but it wasn't happening, was it? You might have thought that a Bertuzzi with a spinorama might have fooled the young goaltender. After all, he may still have brain damage from what Emery did to him, but he doesn't, and he didn't. So how about that shit? The Caps edging out the Detroit Red Wings tonight in authoritative fashion, winning 4-3 in the shootout. Wow. I got to admit something first, not as a broadcaster, but as a Caps fan. I'm tired. I'm 41 years old. I don't know if I can keep doing cardiac Caps. I need them to win by a couple or lose by several. I hate to say that. But this closeness, I don't find it fun. I find it bad for my health. And unless I get, some sort of emergency medical equipment installed in my house so that I can be resuscitated, the Caps are going to kill me. And ironically, what I always say is I can't die until my daughters get married, graduate from college, and when I see the Caps win a cup, then I can die. But the Caps themselves are going to be the thing that kills me before I can see them win a cup. That's pretty messed up right there. Bringing up the box score now for this Washington Capitals Detroit Red Wings game. The Wings did not play a bad game. Let's get that out there. They've lost something like 11 in a row when it comes to overtime or shootouts at home. And I think they've lost like 8 in a row now at home. Poor guys. But they've got a talented team. It's just a matter of, for them, it's easy for me to say this after a win. If we had lost, I wouldn't be giving them any compliments right now because I'm part fan. I'm part announcer, part fan. This is why I would never make it in the professional announcing arena because I too much emotion attached to the Caps, which it requires a certain amount of professionalism to put a disconnect between you and your team when you're broadcasting up in the big leagues, if you will. Got the box score up here. Looking at that. The box score in this particular case was rather representative of what really happened. We're going to talk about a couple things during this show that bothered me. They bothered me. And one of those things is the officials. Now, I'm not saying that the officials were horrible this game. There were a couple of things that bothered me about how they handled the game, though. The biggest one, it may not have bothered you, but it really bothered me, is the officials telling Holtby to play the puck when there's a guy right there that he ends up giving the puck up to. A young goaltender is accustomed to doing what the officials say. It takes a more experienced goaltender to say, I'm not listening to you, ref. I'm not playing the puck. There's a guy right there. So Holtby's subconscious mind, before he has time to think, says, ref says it, I got to do it. Dump the puck. That's messed up right there. Because what if he would have scored? Who do you blame? Somebody needs to review that kind of thing and allow the rule to be that if the goalie finds a need to cover the puck, there cannot be a delay of game put on him for covering the puck. That's ridiculous, man. So we almost gave one up there. I didn't like that at all. Now tell me how this one works. And I know they always call the retaliation, but why? You see a guy right in front of you, you're an official. He cross-checks Nicky in the back. Nicky's head snaps back. His body goes down on the floor. There is no... what do you call it when you make it look worse than it is? There's none of that. So he goes down on his face, and then his stick incidentally corkscrews between a player's skates, and we get called? Well, maybe they gave it back to us when OV bumped that other guy going down, and then the guy put an arm around his neck, and we got that call. So, okay, if it evens out, I'm all right. But I think they should call the first in both of those cases. Call the first penalty. Don't call the retaliation. If you got to call the retaliation, call both. Make it fair. It's not fair to let them get away with the first one and then call it because the second one gives you more time to look and think. Give me a break. So we did it. Looking at the box score here, it started out with Brooks Laich just 550 into the first. Brooks Laich did a backhand and was just clean skating right there to the right side of the net, caught his own rebound. We have found a weakness, and I guess the rest of the NHL also knows about this weakness in Howard's goaltending, and that is that he likes to come out of the net. Now, that can be a huge benefit. You can think of goalies of old that did that and consistently ranked high on goalie power rankings. But when you come out of the net, if you can't control your rebounds, or if you're too prone to come out of the net and you can be head faked, then you're going to leave what's behind you wide open. Well, that's exactly how Laich scored tonight. That is exactly how Latta scored tonight. And had OV's shot come off of Howard when he came out 10 feet almost to stop that slap shot, or if he had gone back door, that's a layup. So OV was smart on that play, believe it or not. He shot it, and he shot it low because he knew Howard was going to come out after it. He was hoping for the rebound. He could have head faked on that one and probably gotten a layup. Good game overall. I'm seeing the Caps getting better at basically making adjustments on the fly. I'm seeing them get better at that. A team that's going to go deep into the playoffs has to be fluid in their change motions, and that means calling players up and sending players down. One day of practice should be enough because they should be getting these practices in routinely. So you shouldn't have any major adjustments being made. Alexei here lately has me a little concerned. He's not where he's supposed to be on the ice. He's getting some dumb penalties. I didn't see this last year when he first got called up. I was really impressed with everything he was doing, from dropping the gloves to being in the right spot at the right time. But I'm looking, and we'll throw the puck around the board. It'll come out to the point, and Alexei's off position, and he can't keep it in, or something along those lines, in either zone. So I don't know what he's doing, or if Oates has him trying to squeeze in harder and get closer to the goal for defense or offense. But something's going on with Alexei, and I think they need to work on it. Let's see. So, let's see. Yeah, for the scoring, we'll go over scoring. I'm going to do scoring and penalties at the same time, actually, and we'll see how they play together. So at 7:13 in the first, you had Brian Lashoff holding he was being held by Jason Chimera. So Chimera goes to the box, and then what happens? Detroit power play goal. Johan Franzen with the wrist shot, assist by Kendall and De Keyser. That was at 15:52. Actually, we beat that penalty with Chimera in the box. It was the Tom Wilson cross-checking that we couldn't beat, and that was at 14:09. So that's when they got their power play goal. So at that point, it was a 1-1 tie. Well, then 3 minutes later, Detroit comes back. Franzen again gets the wrist shot, assist Tatar, and Darren Helm. So now it's 2-1 Detroit. So they've quickly snatched the lead back from a second period. Second period at 8:59, Cronwall gets called for hooking on OV. He goes to the box. We can't capitalize. 12:04, Urban gets high-sticked. Franzen goes to the box. We can't capitalize. And then 17:54, Tom Wilson gets held by Joachim, I don't even know how to say his name, Joachim Anderson. So this was 1942, a power play goal by Danny De Keyser, assist Franzen and Kendall. Oh, these are backwards. They're listing them backwards on the NHL site. I knew this was wrong. Tom Wilson was in the box. He was in the box twice tonight. So they're saying holding 2 minutes against. What they mean is the infraction was against, not the penalty. So the first person that I mentioned in those previous cases actually went to the box. Just to get that straight, I don't want to mislead you. So we're going to go over it again real quick. Second period, 8:59, Cromwell hooking 2 minutes against OV. Alexander Urban high sticking 2 minutes against Johan Franzen. So it's Cromwell goes to the box, Urban goes to the box, Tom Wilson holding against Anderson, he goes to the box. And then finally, right at 20 minutes, Cromwell holding, and that was against OV. So Cromwell goes to the box twice. And Wilson also went to the box twice. So here we go again. Now we're in the third. Troy Brower interference, and that was against Darren Helm. I didn't like that call, but I could see, some players like to skate a certain way and then act like they don't see where they're going. Have you seen that? They'll do that. They'll kind of play out the timing in their mind and then turn around and stick their butt out and go run into somebody as if they can't see it. I don't think that often fools an official. I think they can kind of detect when you're doing that. So that's not a good penalty to take unless there's a real huge amount of pressure on your goalie. And then maybe you got to throw a body on somebody that you shouldn't have thrown. But, he did it, and we paid the price. Penalties are what's going to keep us out of a deep run in the playoffs this year, if anything does. Somebody's got to get the penalties under control. I don't know what else to say about that. Just stop doing the stuff. I mean, there are good penalties to take, and 90% of them are bad. And we are routinely committing those penalties that are in that 90th percent of bad penalties. So we give up leads. We hate to be leading in a game. I don't know why, but look at how many times we'll pick up the lead, a 1-goal lead in a game, and give it up less than a minute later. What is that? What is that? That's gone on for years with the Caps. Too often to just be chance. What is that? There's something going on there in the psychology of the team. Is it that, okay, you've got a lead, we're going straight to a defense mode? Which is the same to me as running a prevent. It's not effective. The best defense is a good offense. Now you don't want to get caught and then they make a break on you coming out of your zone, coming out of their own zone, because you were too deep in the O zone. However, you don't just sit back. You don't just sit back because you're guaranteed not to score another one if you just sit back and wait for super safe plays. But you keep the pressure on. Once you get a team thinking defensively, they tend to forget their offense a little. They sort of get used to it, and they accept it. It's a trick. I've seen the Capitals fall prey to it. Somebody gets deep in the zone, they keep it in for about a minute. All of a sudden, there's a chance for a breakout, and you see the Caps fumble a pass because they're not thinking offense. They're thinking, I still got to play defense here. And it's a weird thing. It's basically an acclimation that happens in your D zone. You get too used to it and begin to play as if you're on a power play even when you're not. Just this defensive posture. And it's like, whoa. Put a body on somebody, get that puck out of there and clear it, get you a line change if you need it, and let's get this fucking thing going down to the other end of the ice. A little too much zone time we're giving our opponents in these games. Have you noticed that? You don't want to give them more than 20 or 30 seconds. Get that puck on out of there. We're giving them full minutes and minute and a half in our zone. It's killing our defense. It's putting a lot of pressure on Holtby. You don't want to have to make more than 2 saves on one shift. So that's careless. That's reckless in our own right. But like my friend Bernie says, and I believe I've had other friends say this, the coaches, I was reading down the additional game facts, and officials were first. The coaches are relatively new. I mean, when you look at Adam Oates' background with coaching, he's got 5 or 6 years basically running an assistant job, and he was up with New Jersey. And then Mike Babcock, where's the other one? Oh, well, I'll just have to remember. Mike Babcock's a Detroit coach. So what's his name? Who's our assistant coach? I'm having trouble remembering his name, but he's good at what he does. But he was just an up and comer too. I mean, all 3 of our major coaches were not at the head coach level anywhere before. So look at what we're dealing with from the coaching end of things. Now, I like Oates' style. Don't get me wrong. Oates' style is a laid-back style when it comes to I find the yelling and screaming just unnecessary. I think when players make it to the NHL, I think they've shown that they're pros, and maybe it's time to start treating them like adults. But when you do that, if you're going to take that more laid-back approach, you also have to teach them what is at stake if they lose. Because if you can't use yelling and screaming, and I don't think you should, to scare them into action, you have to use an approach that motivates them in another way, in a whole different way. And that's basically showing them what they stand to lose if they don't win. Teaching these players, especially these young ones, that they have one chance, really, in this league. They have one career, and you don't get a lot of shots at a Stanley Cup, which is the holy grail of the NHL. And the Stanley Cup is won game by game by game throughout the season. So I think it's important that someone like an Oates instills into, especially the young players, but all of them, that you have a lot to lose by losing, and that there's something huge to gain by winning. You can't just come in, make your money, and put in a hard day's work and call it a day. There's got to be something extra. And I think they feed off each other's natural competition, you know. I think that's a natural motivator there, so that's a good thing. If you're in chat, if you want to go to chat, go ahead and catch it on the Facebook page. That's the easiest way. Facebook.com/TruthOnTapShow. And in there, you can find the star tab, which is listen to shows. Go in there, and you'll see one playing live right now, and that's a Washington Capitals. That's the show. That's this one if you're listening on Spreaker, because you can get in on the chat there, or you can go to the Spreaker site. If you're already at the Spreaker site, just click on the icon in the lower right. And you'll see it right beside the heart icon. You can start chatting. And we're talking about this game tonight between the Detroit Red Wings, who I have a couple of friends who are huge fans, and the Washington Capitals that somehow managed to pull this one off. It was a flip of a coin for me. I couldn't say that one team was playing so well that the other team could not, didn't have an equal chance. I believe there was an equal chance. So that's the way that went. So looking at I was looking at the coaching lineup, and it was Blaine Forsythe. Is the one I was having trouble remembering his name, and then Calle Johansson, and then remember, I believe Blaine was a video coach, and now that belongs to Brett Leonhardt. So the goaltender coach now is Kolzig. Everybody remembers him. And he's quite capable at what he does. But again, all of these guys, not a lot of experience from their levels that they've taken. For the titles that they have are relatively new titles for these guys. Brand new titles for some of them. So we have to think about this game not just from the player perspective, not just from what's running on first, second, and third lines and who's not playing well enough on D and who's not breaking the puck out or passing well. We got to look at the coaching staff and consider that that is the structure upon which the building of the Washington Capitals is built upon. And how they do is directly related to how well that structure is in place and how well the structure is performing. So I don't think they're bad. I think they're doing good. I think that a team has a bit of a, what would you call it, I'd say a little bit of mercy, a bit of a soft spot for coaches that are new. They kind of say, hey, we get it. You're learning the system. We're going to give you a break. We're not going to expect you to be, a Babcock right out of the box or a Gabby. We're going to expect you to take some time to learn from the coaching angle. We know you've played. There are very few coaches in the NHL. I think there's only one coach right now who never played in the NHL. I think. I may be wrong about that. So these guys played, and they know about the grind and the dirt and the grit and the blood and the sweat and the tears and all of that. They know about losing and winning. They know about not winning and winning Stanley Cups. Many of them have not won one. And here we are, the Washington Capitals. You got an Ovechkin that's been in the league 7 or 8 years, and he has no cup. And it's not a one-person operation. That's why when people say, well, Crosby has a cup, I say Crosby doesn't have a cup. The Penguins have that cup, but not Crosby. Now, if you want individual performance stats, you look at who gets MVP and who wins the awards. If you want to know team stats and how well the team did together, you look at Stanley Cup. And it's really that simple. Who could disagree with that? Now, a Crosby fan wants to immediately jump up and choose whatever's supportive of their favorite player, and it's not accurate, And I'd be saying the same thing if the Caps had won cups, but Crosby had won more MVPs than OV. I'd say Crosby is proving to be, at least in the NHL's eyes, a better player than OV, and he's getting the MVPs for it. Well, it's the opposite. OV is the better player than Crosby, and he's getting the MVPs for it. Here's what I'd like you to do if you're confused about OV and Crosby, and this is something I talk about a little too often because I think there's a part of us, especially us older hockey fans, that loves any good hockey player. We love the skill they show even if we hate their personality or hate what they represent. We appreciate it. We respect it, as any professional would. However, I got a bad taste in my mouth from Crosby as soon as I found out when he came in the league that he was a whiner. I can't stand whiners. Something bugs me about the tough sport of hockey being tainted by someone acting like a child and always bitching at the referees for not calling this or calling that. That's a sad thing. When the NHLPA votes, and they vote that the whiniest person in the league is Sidney Crosby, you can take that to the bank. Take that to the bank. And that got under my skin right away. I had nothing against Crosby up until that point. I just thought, okay, he's going to be good competition for OV. Well, I started watching him, and I started watching some of the dives. I started watching how the goals were scored, and this is my whole point about this. I would like you, if you would, take the last 20 goals, if you can, something along those lines, the last 15, the last 10. Go ahead and look at the highlights. Look at how OV scored his last 20 goals, and look at how Crosby scored his last 20 goals. Here's what you're going to find more often than not. OV has made his own way into the zone. He has somehow, now on the power play goals, that's different. He has basically been in the right spot at the right time. But he has somehow made himself available, usually by skating and even hitting people when he's got the puck. He's not afraid to run into somebody and keep skating. He dekes, he dodges, he hits a hard slap shot, he's got a tricky wrist shot, and he's got moves. Okay, that's how you'll see OV scoring his goals, excluding the power play goals, which are often just him being in the right spot. Watch a Crosby now, same situation. Both in regular play in 5-on-5 and on power plays. What do you see most often? I'll give you a second to think about this. How is he scoring his goals? Where is he when he gets the goal? What is he doing? How does he get the goal? Is he skating fast, horizontally, in front of the goalie to get him to open the 5-hole? Is he taking that hard slap shot from the point and just beating with pure speed and power? No. No, he's not skating in front of the goalie either. What's he doing? He's sitting there. He's sitting there, waiting for a rebound. Yeah, I mean, look at the highlights and count them up. I guarantee you, of the last 20 goals he's made, a good 12 or 13 of them, he's tapped in a rebound. He has taken advantage of the work of someone else, putting the puck on net, and tapped it in. You're calling that skill? Now, I wish we had somebody that would go get the garbage plays and stand in front of the net like he's doing, or beside the net like he's doing. He doesn't want to fight to get that position in front of the net, but he'll stand beside it, which is kind of an unusual thing. But he does, and he gets his goals that way. But he just taps them in. So when you look at a skill player and you're going, okay, Crosby taps them in, OV makes the shot happen, and he does a lot from the point, and he does a lot with the dekes. Crosby's got what? The spinorama. That's his signature move. All right, that doesn't impress. Let's look at the hits. OV throws 450 a season or so, and Crosby less than 100, and those are weak by Crosby. That's not impressing. So can you blame the NHL for cleanly handing the MVP over to OV? And Crosby likes to say stuff like, well, I'm more of a passer. Do you realize how loaded that statement is, folks? I'm more of a passer. What is that saying about OV? That's an attack as far as I'm concerned. OV doesn't get into those games. He just plays and plays hard all the time. Well, sometimes he slacks, and it pisses me off, but... Sorry, I had to take my Motrin because my back is killing me. He plays, and he plays hard all the damn time. Sometimes he slacks off, but that is so rare. 99% of the time he's been on the ice in the NHL, he has been a monstrous force. As Craig Laughlin said a couple of years back, and I put in one of the highlight videos of OV that I made, he is a one-man wrecking ball. It's true. And, or I think he said a one-man wrecking crew. I think he said one-man wrecking crew, but same thing. Wreck shit. And I like that about OV. I love that he's a bull in a china shop. I love how many hits he throws. I love how he plays a whole game. I'm curious, if you guys heard the question tonight, if you were watching Locker and Joe B call the game, if you heard the question about which three players would you combine, to make one of the greatest players of all time? And I don't think they specified whether you had to choose active players. So it could have been players from the past. Who would you choose? Which three? If I had to choose from active players, that would be a hard one. Ovi is obviously one because he brings the whole game. But I would probably add to Ov because I think, what's he got? What's he got 100% of 100% on? He's got 100% of 100% on hitting. He's got that squared away. I don't need anybody that's a better hitter. What's he lacking a little in? I'd say he's lacking a little in total puck control, dodges and dekes. And I'd say he's lacking a little on speed. He's lost a step here in these past few years. So I would give him the speed of maybe a Chimera, and I would give him the puck handling control of probably a Datsuk. So I think, you tell me, I put together an OV with a Datsuk and a Chimera, or anybody else you can think that has great breakaway speed, that can also hit the brakes and suddenly change directions while keeping their speed up. You may think of somebody, you may be thinking of somebody right now from the New York Islanders. You may be thinking of somebody right now from the Avs. You may be thinking of somebody right now from the Kings. But I'm going to go ahead and just say Chimera, because I think he brings it like that. So, that's me. That's who I would combine. But I've heard, you got to be a real expert on all hockey, going back to 1914 or whatever. What about Maurice Rocket Richard? What about him? The Russian Rocket. What about Gretzky, who brought a whole game except the hitting, really? And he had better puck control than OV, but less hitting. So, they kind of, I think they kind of equal out overall. OV has won 3 MVPs. I think Gretzky won something like 9 or 10, and most of those were consecutive. So it was kind of scary how many he won. But, you also have to consider who's in the league with him at the time. Isn't that worth considering? A star can shine in a shallow pool all day long. But when you start making that pool deep, all of a sudden you got a bunch of stars trying to shine, and one star doesn't look so good. So it's worth considering. I'm not saying that's necessarily true with OV. I'm just saying it's worth considering. What time did a player come up that is considered all hail this player? It's worth a look. We've been broadcasting now for 27 minutes. I'd like to talk a little bit more about the upcoming cap schedule and what we can expect from that. And before we do that, I'm just going to play you a tune right quick. I like to promote local and unknown artists, and I've got a local band called, well, it's not a local, they're pretty close to here. It's called Jazz Addicts, and if you want to find them, you find them on Facebook, Jazz Addicts, Jazz ADDIXX. This is kind of a hip-hop group, they brought back scratching, and it's really cool. It just sounds really cool. It reminds me of the 80s when scratching first started. It's easy to screw up when you scratch, so some of the groups out there that do that kind of stuff, even if they mix it in with pop, they don't do it very well. Well, these guys do. These guys do, and it excites me when I see an up-and-coming group that has mad skills like that. So I like to play them. So we're going to give you a little break here. I'm going to throw on a commercial for you, and then we're going to play Jazz Addicts, and we'll come back and talk a little bit about the Washington Capitals' upcoming schedule and what that's going to look like for our favorite hockey club.
You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kierstead.
Ladies and gents, this is Kevin Kierstead, host of Truth on Tap and Caps on Tap. I hope you're enjoying the show. Truth on Tap is focused on bringing you absolute truth about everything from mainstream media to comedy, from psychology to the paranormal. We keep it real. That same spirit also covers our Caps on Tap show about the Washington Capitals. Caps on Tap show airs only after our Capitals win at this time. Please come like our Facebook page and join the conversation at www.facebook.com/TruthOnTap. Truth on Tap has been picked up now by iHeartRadio, the mega monster of internet audio, and is also on iTunes and Spreaker. To get in on the show's chat, go to www.spreaker.com/truthonTap or call in at 910-NO-LINE. That's 910-665-9464. Thanks again for checking out the show. I really do appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, meet your adrenaline, settle in, it's medicine. Doper than a 7-man, provoking you to let us in. Vocals are effortless, hoping you never miss when approaching a specialist.
It's Stu Togo, your man Focho, your man So-So. The playing Rodo, break bread at 400. Degrees and please MCs, no need to freeze, just flee. You see, we be the best to bless the stage.
on a higher degree. There's none flyer than we. Fire the steeps, but fire we retire the beat. Desire, amplify the crease, try and compete. Design with the heat, you find my fleets dying to eat. You know
So we all get the fat itis. My gold Midas touch reaches, streets. Your whole light is up and heats. My speech, a coal miner to a diamond beach. We've been working, searching for that perfect piece. Hey yo, my advice is to you, think twice. Jazz addicts is the crew, we get nice, precise with the rhyme on the cut. Season illest lemonade was a popular drink and it still is. Now that you follow when it's time for the hollering, so scream for the oxygen bright like a halogen night light. We got them in sight, right? We're rocking the right. Where we want them, stay tight without a problem. Excite, bite, don't overheat, just jump when you wanna.
Fist pump when you wanna. Bass thump, this is on.
We gonna keep it hot in here, let's persevere, no drama. Just good karma first, cheer.
I'll put you in the sky, a peace sign for a beast rhyme. No decline, block your stunners, then release shine. We carefree at the moment and we own it. Enjoy the aerial view through your stereo components. Just focus.
We known for blasting percussion and rapping production and rapping at function, slapping you suckers, amassing the love is so massive. These brothers on task is the toughest. Bump this, trust us when we say my advice is to you. Think twice. Jazz addicts is the crew. We get nice, precise with a rhyme on the cut. Season illest lemonade was a popular drink and it still is.
Lemonade was a popular drink and it still is. I get more props. I get more props. Jazz addicts is the crew. We get nice, precise with the rhyme on the cut. The illest lemonade was a popular drink.
You heard it, Jazz Addicts Lemonade. I can't get over them. They're just good at what they do. I don't know about you guys. My favorite genre of music isn't even a genre. I call it stadium music. It's the stuff you tend to hear at a Verizon Center, at a football game, at a basketball, hockey, baseball game that gets you fired up. I kind of like music that's exciting. So the only music I avoid is music that I find depressing. And that comes across in the country genre, the classical genre, and the sad part of jazz music. Some of the jazz that's upbeat, I like that. And all the other genres I actually like, as long as they're upbeat and not too... Like, remember the Police? I didn't like their sound. It was depressing. Little black spot on the sun today. That made me want to jump off a cliff. But once Sting left the Police and did his own thing, it just took an upbeat turn. So my favorite groups of all time are Rage Against the Machine, Counting Crows, and Sting in that order. That's me. I don't know what you like. I'd like to hear what you like. What would you like to hear more of at the games? And speaking of hearing things at the games, have you heard... a certain somebody at the games, and are you impressed with his voice? Let me give you a clue, if you don't mind. Let's listen to this real quick.
You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kirsten.
Yeah, and you may recognize that voice, but if you don't, you want to take a guess? You want to take a shot? I'll give you 3 guesses. You only need 1. Who's that? That, my friends, is Wes Johnson. Wes Johnson is your Capitals arena announcer, but he's a lot more than that. You can find him at wesjohnson.com. He is a voice actor. He's on the IMDb, been in movies. His voice is all into video games and stuff. You've probably played a video game and listened to Wes's voice and don't even realize it because he does a lot of different voices. Wes Johnson, you can find him at wesjohnson.com. He's always doing voiceover work and stuff. And he was kind enough to do that voiceover for me, which I really appreciate, and I like to commend him. And I think he's just awesome. If you've ever been to a Caps game, and I know most of you guys listening to this show have, because you're the hardcore Caps fans, there is something about him that can bring you out of your seat. A good voice announcer has that ability, and Wes Johnson has it in full force. And I always like to compare him to some kind of news superhero. It's a challenge I gave to myself at the beginning of the season. So I don't know. I think tonight we'll compare him to the Joker. Why not? He made a funny joke on a Facebook post the other day that I found rather hilarious. And so I was thinking of what kind of superhero was he like? Well, he's not serious all the time. He's not afraid to get in there and poke around even at himself in a self-deprecating manner. I'm going to call him the Joker. He's the Joker. Wes Johnson is the Joker tonight. And a badass Joker he is. And badass meaning cool, not bad. Let's get back to the schedule real quick, and then I'm going to let you go for tonight and go celebrate your win. What do we have coming up here for our Washington Capitals? We got a couple home games coming up. So the Blues are coming to town, and that's going to be Sunday, and that's going to come on at 6 p.m. on CSN. Then the Pens come into town on Wednesday. That's going to be at 8 p.m. That's an 8 o'clock start time. And that's not going to be on CSN according to this. It's going to be on TSN2 and NBCSN. So some of you don't get those channels. And I hate the way they do that. But I'll probably end up having to watch that one online through my own special means. And that's all I'll say about that. Because we don't get either of those two channels. And that's just our problem. So then Friday, we play the Canadiens. 7 o'clock p.m. is the start time. That's back on CSN. And that also is at home. So we got 3 home games in a row. That's a nice homestand. Give us a little bit of a break on the road. But then Friday we head back. Saturday we head back out to the road, and that's November 23rd. Of course, 7 p.m. start time again. That's versus the Maple Leafs. So we're heading to Toronto, and that'll also be on CSN. And then the next few after that, Wednesday, November 27th, Senators at Capitals, Canadiens at Capitals, and then Capitals at Islanders. That's what it's looking like up around the corner. Then we'll get into December, January, February, March, and April, and a cup run. Why not? Why not? I think right now in the standings we're probably tied for first in the Metro, but I need to confirm that, so I'm going to pull it up now. Oh, I hate the way they're doing ads now, you know? It just... They get all up in your face with it, and you can't click things behind it. It's just... I don't know. So let's see. What are we looking for? I want to go to standings, team, schedule, stats, standings. There we go. And then I need to pick my division. Here we go. So we got the Eastern Conference. The actual conference standings. We'll list the first few in those. So you got Tampa Bay on top, and then Boston, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Toronto, and Washington. So we're in 6th place total conference, but division. Going to the doing the Atlantic real quick. So the Metro Division, which is us. It says here that we're in the lead, 20 points, and Pittsburgh has 19. I don't know if 24 points for Pittsburgh, and that the Caps have 23. I thought we tied them tonight with a win. So I must be wrong about that. But we're right on their tail, or tied, and maybe they haven't updated it yet, in a prime position to take over first in the Metropolitan Division. And a lot of you guys are a little confused about the new divisions. Let me break it down for you real quick. The Atlantic Division, the Metropolitan Division, those two make up the East. Then you have the Central and the Pacific divisions making up the Western Conference. So it's been reduced to 4 divisions. Now, that means that each division is going to have 8 teams, except for the Pacific and the Central are going to have 7 teams each. So that's going to come out to a total. That should come out to a total of 30 right there. Yeah, so that makes sense. So it's a little bit more competitive in the East if you've got more teams. Naturally, that just makes sense. But we're doing well. I mean, we're in a prime spot for this time of year to get a good playoff spot. You know, get some home ice advantage. What would stop us from that is terrible play. Terrible play. You know, we got a solid goaltender. We've got a decent backup goalie. I personally would like to see more of Grubauer, but, you know, I guess Nuvi's the safer bet for a backup right now, because you can never tell with new goalies. So we're solid in net. All you got to do is look at the numbers. All you can ask from a goalie is to stop 9 out of 10. That's it. If his number's over 900, he's good. The rest I'm going to put on the team. And Holtby's at like a 922 or something right now. So he's stopping 92.2% of shots. That's good enough for me. And it should be good enough for you. As long as he's consistent in those performances, keeps some numbers up. So now we go to the team. What are they going to give us? Well, what I'm seeing more of that I like is not just constantly clearing the puck, not just constantly dump and chase, a very vague way of playing hockey, a very flip the coin method. I like controlled breakouts. I like controlled entry into the zone. I think that's important. There's nothing wrong with passing to another player that has the same colored jersey on. You don't always have to dump and chase just because that's been your general style. I think passing tape to tape is how you get more goals. I think it's how you intimidate other teams when you prove you can do that routinely. I understand if the lane's not open and you got to dump because you don't want to turn it over. It makes sense. But so often we do that, and I'm seeing us improve on that. Now, that could be a matter of chance. I don't know if it's being coached, but I hope it's being coached. Anyway, I don't want to get too deep here and ruin your fun. If you're going to go out and drink some beers and get all stupid about the win, I want you to go enjoy yourself. And I'm proud of our Capitals team. I think we got a bright future this season, and we need to really just keep pounding on it. As long as we got a third line doing what they're doing, as long as we have a first line that's always capable and dangerous, especially on the power play, well, then we're not going to, and the penalty kills in place and doing as well as it is, we're not going to have much to worry about, folks. We just have to keep the pressure on, keep the work ethic up. We keep the work ethic up, we're in. If we keep our work ethic, if we skate, if we pass, if we shoot and score, we're going to be on top. We have all the talent we need. We have all the talent we need right now to be an excellent choice for a deep run in the playoffs. We have to watch those penalties. We have to pass tape to tape. And we have to have ice awareness. Ice awareness. Know who's coming up on you. Know where your own players are going to be. I think we got a bright future if we do that. So I'm going to let you go with that, and I just want to thank you for listening to Caps on Tap. It is the daughter show of Truth on Tap, which is a show which I told you earlier in the commercial is basically about truth and everything. We just try to get some of the stuff out there that the media won't tell you. And I do the same thing with the Capitals games. You know, I'll call somebody out if they're fucking up. And, oh yeah, it's a cussing show too. And we put it out there without worrying about having to protect sponsors or protect this player's reputation or, you know, that club, that organization, whatever. We just call it how it is. It's a fan's perspective show, and that's what we do here. So I want to thank you for being a fan tonight and listening to Caps on Tap. I'm getting out of here. Daddy's got some stuff to do. So thanks again for listening. Make sure to check out the Facebook page, facebook.com/TruthOnTapShow.